So, Noah, how did you initially get inspired to incorporate, filmmaking and the Green Ninja Film Festival into your science classroom?
Well, I think it was, gosh, maybe 2016. Somewhere, somehow, I saw a flyer for a workshop that combines a workshop that combined next generation science standards, storytelling, and climate change to make films. I went to it. It was over a weekend and or on a Saturday in San Jose State, and that's where I met you and some of the team members. And I took everything I learned and I liked it, and I took it to the classroom and I tried it out with students, and they loved it. And I tried it the next year. Those students loved it, and ever since then, this might be year 7 or 8, I don't know. It's been a highlight of the school year for my students. And now it's the point where we've made props because we're going to be doing our own film festival this year. We already have a date set in May. We've got the multi-purpose room secured, and it's not going to be on a Friday night. And I've got parents helping me this time, so I'm pretty excited about that.
And what is it about what did your students, why did it work for your students?
Well, it's a break from the traditional classroom learning experience. It allows them to get creative, get weird, apply a range of different skills to this. They get to work with their classmates in different ways. They get to go outside, and then they get to see the result, which ends up being, typically heartwarming, hilarious, important, serious, fun, sad. There's just a range of emotions and powerful feelings that one feels that the students feel when they see their own films.
And, how does this fit into a science classroom? Like what kind of, like, do you see a translation of like that this can help them even with their science achievement?
Yes, because while I said, it gives students a chance to be weird and wacky and funny and all of that, it's the storytelling is often fantastical, and that's encouraged. However, there's underlying science that's very real, and that underlying science is what we learn throughout the year. And then they get to take that, what they take that which they've learned and apply it to this creative process that allows them to make something to share with their friends and family and the world, essentially, because a lot of them will end up being online. And um, it takes a serious subject and it polishes the subject to be very informative and important, but also in a fun and creative way.
Do you have, and I know your students have been making films for 7 or 8 years. Do you have any memorable kind of moments in this that you could share with us about particular students or particular films or situations that kind of stand out to you?
Yes. Well, um, often I'm literally moved to tears of joy and pride when I see their films. It's a bit embarrassing because I get choked up when I watch them, because I'm so proud of what they've done, and they're proud of what they've done, and they surprise themselves, and we're all kind of surprised, like, oh my gosh, how'd you do that? Whether it's special effects or students who will make their own music or it might be stop motion, and it's their art. And so there are all these skills that come out of that shine that maybe students didn't even know they had, or I didn't know they had. Um, a couple, some memorable. Oh, and then watching their faces, watch their films, and watching the faces of friends watching their friends' films is just so powerful. Uh, there some movies, all the movies are great. Some of them that stand out to me, one of them a few years ago was Cats the Musical. It was combining politics with K-pop and cats, and and climate change and climate denial and all sorts of things into the most fabulous 3-minute film. There was another one called Brain Rot Christmas, which was done last year. That was just so goofy and bizarre, but so powerful, made so well with such wonderful bizarre humor. I don't know. What was the question again?
Well, no, I was just, it was just, I was interested in some of your memories about some of the amazing things your students have done. Are there any environmental or social themes that you find your students kind of frequently explore in their films?
Yeah, there are. For example, fossil fuel extraction, fossil fuel combustion, and then the effects of too many fossil fuels in the atmosphere and how they impact ecosystems. And those, and within that, there's a range of possibilities students decide to make films about. And the reason I think those are more common themes in the films is because those are topics we study, we learn about throughout the year. And so it's, typically we do these films towards the end of the year, and it's not like, all right, guys, we're going to make these films about climate change or environmental stewardship. Let's watch a YouTube video about what climate change is or environmental stewardship, and then we'll make movies like that based on what we've learned from it. We're actually learning from, the beginning of 6th grade. So they're well versed in how our planet operates in terms of, you know, either harming or protecting our planet and the powers behind that. Yeah, so those are some of the themes.
And how do you prepare your students? You know, your student films are not typically documentaries. They're typically narrative. And so you have to employ they're telling stories. How do you prepare your students to get ready to make like what happens before the film?
Right, great question. Well, I do my best to introduce, you know, uh, what we're about to do, make films, 3-minute films combining NGSS, climate change, and storytelling. And at first, like, huh, okay. And then we might look at a few examples of some films that have been made. And we might even look at films that some of their siblings have been in or people they knew. And that gets them excited because they can relate. And then we have to spend time learning about storytelling, what storytelling is, because it's not something that's typically done in science class. And as a science teacher, I have to be prepared to spend time doing that with students. So we use the resources provided by Green Ninja, which are excellent on storytelling, the story spine. We start slow and we just build and build and build. There's I think you might know the gentleman. He tells a story. There's a video on YouTube I show the students and they love it. It's called the Dinosaur and the Baby. And this is an author who writes children's books, and he explains his process he goes through. And ultimately, it's the more unexpected, the more twists and turns there are, the more exciting the film's going to be. And then I ask the students, like, think about your favorite shows, think about your favorite movies. What makes you really enjoy them? And ultimately, it becomes the plot twists and the unexpected turns that the film will take. And so um, that is very important because if without that, students may, and I tell them this, I said, without understanding some of these basics behind what a good story is, your story or my story, anyone's story will probably end up being really, really boring. And we don't want them to be boring. We want to tell a fun story, an engaging story that also has a real essence of science within it too.
What advice would you give other teachers who are, considering or interested in the Green Ninja Film Festival? Like what would be some tips that you would provide to them? Like they say, okay, I'm gonna do the film festival this year. Noah, you've done it 7 or 8 years. Do you have any tips for us?
Yeah, use the materials, the guides provided, because I wouldn't be able to pull this off without it. Use them and bring it, if you've got some storytelling skills, incorporate those as well. But also what some of the unexpected results from this film festival are certain students who might not do well in the traditional learning setting, traditional, summative or formative assessment taking, can really shine because they're able to demonstrate their learning through a different form of creativity that typically doesn't happen in science class. It might, there's a range of skills that students are able to showcase. Resilience, perseverance, because things don't go according to plan. Teamwork, collaboration, crafting a narrative, storyboarding, set design, making props, digital design. I've had students, I don't even know the language to use right now to describe this, but students use some sort of programming to make computer-generated graphics that rival Hollywood films. They're geniuses. I don't know how they do it. I had a student, she worked by herself and she struggled in class and in school typically, but she ended up winning an award at one of the Green Ninja Film Festivals. I forget what award it was, but it was just the most beautiful, simple story. But it just allowed her to tell her story. She painted all the props. It was wonderful. So a tip for teachers is try this out and check out what your students are able to do. Some of the students that fly under the radar shine. Some of the students that don't typically perform well with our standardized testing or learning in the classroom will just triumph with these films. It's such a it's I could go on and on.
No, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. And that's from my standpoint, that's great. You're really eloquent with this. I can just, you know, you and I have many favorite films too that came from your classroom. So and I also feel somewhat emotional sometimes. I'm like, gosh, these students are just amazing, it's just wonderful.